Do you ever feel like you're walking through life in a fog? You're there, moving through your day, but somehow not really here. It's like you're behind glass, watching life happen, but not as a part of it. Maybe you've even thought, I just don't feel like myself. If that resonates, stay with me, because what I'm about to share might change everything. In this video, I'm going to explain why your nervous system does this, why it pulls you into that hazy, disconnected state, and more importantly, I'll show you how to bring yourself back online, clear, present, powerful. And by the end, you'll walk away with a practice you can use in just under 3 minutes, a reset button for your entire system. Here's the thing, feeling foggy, off, or not like yourself is far more common than you think. Clients have come to me saying that they experience it like they're just existing, not living. Others describe it as being trapped in a dream. The world feels strange and distant some way, they say. Some even mention that they want to crawl out of their own skins. If you've ever felt that, you're not broken, you're not lazy, and you're definitely not alone. What's happening is this. Your nervous system was hit with what I call an invisible freeze. To the world, you might still be functioning, going to work, taking care of your responsibilities, smiling in conversation, but inside there's like a quiet lockdown, a protective wall. And just to be clear, this isn't weakness. It's your biology trying to shield you from overwhelm. The scientists call this a dorsal shutdown. When your system senses it can't fight or flee, so it decides to conserve its energy by something like you can compare it with like dimming the lights inside. That heaviness in your body, that sense of being far away, of not really existing, it's not your fault. It's your body's ancient survival code doing what it thinks it must do. And here's the twist. What feels like a problem is actually your body's solution. I understand it not just because I've studied it, but because I've lived it. When I was 6 years old, I had meningitis. And at that age, you basically don't fully understand mortality yet. But your body remembers. And that experience with fragility planted in me a deep reverence for life and health. After that, martial arts became my anchor, my discipline, my structure, using the body as a weapon and temple at the same time. But even there, I felt something's missing. And then at 18 years old, I stepped into a yoga class. And I'll never forget that moment. In the middle of a posture, tears streamed down my face. I didn't know why, but something in me recognized safety, release, and presence after years of holding tight. And that was the beginning of my journey into the nervous system. And since then, I've had the honor of guiding countless clients who felt foggy, detached, or lost in autopilot, helping to find their way back. So if you're listening right now and thinking, this is me, hear me clearly. There is a way back. But before we get into the practice, let's understand the map inside your body. Okay, so you can basically see it like this. Your nervous system runs on 3 primary settings. Think of it like gears in a car. Number 1 is fight or flight. This is also called the sympathetic state. This state governs energy, movement, survival. Number 2 is shutdown, also known as dorsal vagal. This state governs freeze, collapse, fog, and dissociation. And number 3 is safety and connection, also known as ventral vagal. It governs calm, present, and being socially open. When life overwhelms you and neither fight nor flight feels possible, your system defaults into shutdown. It's the body's way of saying, if I can't escape, I will conserve. What happens is that your heart rates start to drop, your energy plummets, your breath becomes shallow, and most importantly, your interoception, which is the ability to sense your inner world, it goes offline. And that's why you can feel unreal, why you don't notice signals of hunger or fatigue until they become extreme, why emotions vanish only to crash back later. I once had a client who told me I thought I was going crazy. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't even tell if I was tired. I just felt hollow. What she didn't realize was that her system wasn't failing, but it was protecting. And here is the empowering part. If your body can learn shutdown, it can also learn how to come back online. But first, we need to talk about what keeps people stuck. The biggest trap is shame. Someone in freeze might call themselves lazy. Friends or family might even say they're unmotivated. But what looks like laziness is actually a nervous system in survival mode. Another trap is that calm can feel dangerous. For those people who have spent years on guard, the moment that things become quiet, everything relaxes, the body actually starts to panic. And then finally, there's isolation. So our nervous systems are designed to co-regulate, which means to sync with safe others. And without that co-regulation, we stay locked in protection. Maybe you've experienced this. You finally get a moment to rest, but instead of relief, you feel uneasy. That's your system saying safety is unfamiliar. So what do we do when this very thing we crave, the peace, it feels unsafe? This is where the practice comes in. So what are the different pathways to transformation? I want to start off talking about bottom-up practices. When trauma freezes the body, micro movements can thaw it. Tremoring, like the shaking that animals do after stress, it discharges stuck energy. In my practice, I've seen clients take their first deep breath in years after just a simple tremor exercise. Also, fascia release helps too. What happens is that trauma tightens the connective tissue, which locks us in armor. Gentle stretches or foam rolling or even hip sways, these melt the tension and restore the flow in your body. And even breath, one of the fastest levers for change. And also long exhales, which activate the parasympathetic, also known as the rest and digest response. Try this. Inhale for 4 seconds and then exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. If you do that, you'll feel your heart rate soften. But we'll go into this practice deeper a little bit later. Another important point is polyvagal navigation. So here's a key insight. You can't leap straight from freeze to calm. First, you need to pass through gentle activation, which could be rocking, swaying, even short walks tell your body it's safe to move again. And then we have the co-regulation and grounding. So science shows that when we're with someone safe, our breath, heartbeat, and even brain waves can sync together. Sometimes the fastest way back to regulation is not alone, but with another person. A hand on the shoulder, sitting with someone you trust, or even petting your dog. These things work amazing. Grounding also works wonders. Barefoot on the earth, or even simply orientating your senses. Seeing 5 things, feeling 4 things, hearing 3 things, smelling 2 things, and then tasting 1, which sounds complicated, but again, we'll go deeper into this later. But what's important to know is that these aren't tricks. They're reminders to your nervous system. They remind your nervous system that the danger has passed and that you're safe now. Okay, so now we all have all this information. We know how the system works. Let's get into the 3-minute practice, which integrates parts of things that I've just mentioned into a short practice which you can basically do every day to regulate your nervous system. So wherever you are, take a moment to pause with me. Take a deep breath in and an even longer breath out. Now, what you want to do is look around in your room and start to name 5 things. And when your eyes land on an object, actually let it land on the object. For example, I see a black chair, a tripod, a lamp. Notice 5 things. Next, we're gonna notice 4 things that you feel. So you can start with your feet on the ground, maybe your hands resting on your thighs. Maybe you can feel the texture of your clothes. Then we continue with 3 things which you can hear. Maybe the birds outside. I can hear the wind. Then we move on to 2 things you can smell. So I have a Tom Ford cologne. I can smell my microphone. And then finally, one thing you can taste. So notice how, even in these few moments, the fog, it lifts just a little. What you can do now is gently shake your arms, bounce on your heels, and let your body tremor if you have the space. Even if it's just for 30 seconds. Finally, breathe again. Inhale for a 4 count. And then exhale for a 6 count. So on your own, repeat that 5 times. And that's it basically. That's your reset button. It's a small 3-minute practice which signals safety to your nervous system. If you felt even a small shift, that's your body remembering. And it only grows with repetition. So this isn't about quick hacks. It's about literacy. Learning the language of your nervous system and speaking it daily. Do this, stretch in the morning, take breathing pauses before stressful meetings, ground yourself barefoot whenever you can, reach for safe connection instead of isolating yourself. I've watched clients go from feeling trapped in the fog to feeling deeply present with their families, which doesn't happen overnight, but over weeks and months of consistent practice. The fog doesn't define you, it's just a chapter. And if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's that you're not broken. Your body is intelligent. Every response you've had, if it's freeze, fog, or shutdown, those were your nervous system protecting you. But protection isn't the end of the story. Presence is. And this is the heart of my work. This is the Andrade method. We begin with the body, restore energy, bring clarity to the mind, cultivate love in relationships, and ultimately we anchor your soul. Because this isn't just about managing symptoms, it's about remembering who you are. And when you remember, not only do you return to yourself, but you create a lineage of presence, families, communities, futures built on clarity instead of fog. Fog was never the end of your story. It was only the pause before your return.